We've played every mission of the mainline Halo video games, and now we're playing every mission from the rest of the games in the franchise in chronological order. Each episode will be discussing our experiences and sprinkling in a little lore along the way. If you'd like to play along and have your thoughts read on the show, email us at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. We'll be playing Operations A through D from Halo Spartan Strike on the next episode. If you like what you hear and want to support the show, visit Podcast Evolved on Patreon. You can also receive a free audiobook trial by using audibletrial.com/Podcast Evolved. I'll spit that out correctly one time. It's just, that doesn't get me, that doesn't come out right ever. This episode, we're debriefing Operation Hydra, the co-op missions, and recapping our experience with Halo Spartan Assault. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, alongside David Arnold.
Hello, everybody.
And Krista Brown.
Davis is dumb and I hate him.
He's also dead.
No.
He's very dead.
Last mission, so the main campaign, so Operations A through E, they're titled Umbra, Tempered Shield, Monolith, Captured Chance, and Frostbite. They all have very cool names. So here's kind of what happened last time. A Covenant splinter sect violated the Treaty of 2552 and attacked the UNSC forces stationed on Dratheus 5. The planet's moon was discovered to be a Forerunner creation that could both build and destroy planets. Spartan Davis and Palmer led the effort to stop the Covenant leader Merg Vol from harnessing the devastating technology and repelled the invasion. Now in Operation Hydra, and we'll talk about co-op as well a little during this episode afterwards, Spartan Sarah Palmer is sent back to X-50 after a mysterious transmission is detected emitting from the moon. The curious Covenant pick up the signal as well and battle the UNSC in pursuit of its source. The transmission is discovered to be a message that Spartan Davis left prior to his death. Palmer is determined to protect his remains and honor a fallen brother. The actual story, I feel like I made it sound more interesting doing those two sentences than the actual story.
Yeah.
The date of the game is still 2554. This is like the DLC of the game, and I don't know exactly. I didn't find anything on why they added this. If they were planning on adding this at the when they launched the campaign, they didn't have, or the game, and they didn't have enough time, or if they just wanted to give some people a little bit more because they had the assets, they had the people there. They were like, okay, let's do a little bit more of this. It's not great. The gameplay is fine, but the story is just weird.
Yeah.
It's just a bizarre thing.
And they hype you up too. They're like, it's Sarah Palmer in this first cutscene, and she's like, oh, that's the story we're telling people? Well, it's crazy stuff happens afterwards that's not in this report. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. And then it's just like, what is going on? Who came up with this?
Exactly. It fell very flat for me. I don't know, David, any thoughts on this little extra story?
Nah. I mean, it started off cool, like the drop pod sequence was cool.
Yeah.
I like that kind of introduction. I've already kind of mentioned before, but I'm not a huge fan of the ODSTs aren't that cool in this, but seeing the pods come down and kill grunts and stuff was entertaining. And what else then? I don't know. There's one or two missions, but I didn't like the last one at all. Man, the story itself is kind of like totally weird compared to like, Davis dies off screen and then it's somehow not dead. And then
he's a Forerunner.
I don't know, it's weird.
Now.
Yeah, there's no explanation for how that happened.
But also, like, what's the point? So
he
dies, and then the Forerunner thing turns him in. So it starts to turn him into something like a device, like a mechanical device or something. And then he sends out a signal, but the signal, like, he's not trying to get them to do anything, right? Like, there's just no point in this whole thing.
Literally, the whole point of this is just recovering Davis's remains, and that's it.
Right.
And it doesn't, like, you don't care about Davis anyway. Like, the campaign gave you no reason to care about Davis. It's all about Palmer and her being cool. And then you think that this signal's leading somewhere, but it's literally just, oh, let's pick up this corpse and take it home, I guess. That's the whole
hunk
thing.
of metal. Right.
And it's like
Yeah, it's
all the
just weird.
resources and like everything you go through to get to that point, it's just like so anticlimactic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, on one hand, like I put in the description, like it's honorable, I guess, that Palmer goes and does that. But once they find out that he's turned into, like, I don't know, some Forerunner creation, I don't know, like, what bad is going to happen. They don't really kind of connect the dots on, like, well, what if he just stayed there? What was going to happen? What if the Covenant got his body? I guess maybe if the Covenant got his body, he would have a bunch of secrets, exposed from the UNSC potentially, so maybe that's it. But they never tell you that, or they never make that part of the story. So it's just weird. The whole thing is a little bizarre. It's poorly written compared to everything else. The structure is the same as everything else, but it's and to your point, Krista, it feels going in like, oh, all right, there's some juicy stuff we get to learn.
They get a Forerunner signal. Like every time you
Yeah.
hear like an unknown Forerunner signal, you're like, oh, cool shit's about to happen, and then zero cool shit happens.
Yeah.
It's also written in a way where, like, Palmer is talking to the Spartans. Remember, we're all Spartans playing this game. She's talking to them, and she's like uncovering some secret information. She's saying, "Oh, this also happened while you were down there, Spartan Davis, and like I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that he still existed, and we recovered his remains or something like that." So it's written in a way that is making her say, "Oh, the Oni or Oni's not going to cover this up. I want you guys to know what really happened at the end." But it's just not that interesting of a story.
I hate to say it, but like Operation F is almost a waste of time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Unless you want the Achievo or something. It's just...
Yeah. There's achievements and some cutscenes that are associated with it, but it's just kind of blah. So, in terms of the gameplay itself, I think, David, you started mentioning a couple things. When Palmer's in that drop pod, she pops out. That's kind of cool. You just kind of run around and defend the area, and then the Grizzly, we do get another Grizzly mission, which is cool, and you get to drive that around for a while. You don't get to use it the entire mission, but you get to drive it around and destroy some mega turrets, which we've talked about before, not only in this game but also in Halo Wars. What else is in there? Those little power cores, and I think you guys will talk about this in the co-op when we talk about that too, but there's those little orbs they have to go and like hook a bunch of grenades onto before they blow up.
Those things have a lot of health, like an annoying amount of
do.
health.
Yeah.
And they regen health. If
Yeah.
you're not quick enough.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Okay. They took, I think, when I found that, I figured out the grenades take them down the quickest. So 3 grenades should take it out, but to your point, if you're like delaying in between there, then it might take an extra one. And if you just throw an assault rifle at it, it takes forever. it's not worth the ammo. So so that one was okay, I guess, where you go around to the 3 different spots and then you unlock the shrine door. And then, Krista, what did you think about the last mission? Like the whole, like the last...
I don't know what it was, because it doesn't seem hard when you're playing it, but I struggled a lot with it. And I don't know why. I felt like I was dying faster than I did in previous missions, or there just wasn't enough cover or something like that, but it was really, really tough. I ended up having to use a shield booster, and I got a rocket launcher to beat it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of flanking, I think, and you have to move. I found, like, because there is a timer and it just kind of counts down the entire time. And it doesn't really matter when you blow the orbs up. The timer just kind of continues. But I found like it made more sense, instead of just hunkering down and waiting for the Covenant to chase you. It made more sense to go and actively be aggressive and clear them out, because they do spawn at a certain rate, and you'll reach a point where you just get overwhelmed and they just take you out. So, I don't know. David, any thoughts on that last mission?
I didn't really enjoy it at all, but it took me a few goals. I think I died a lot, and then eventually I boosted. I think I did a damage booster.
Okay.
And that made it super easy. You just shout through enemies. I did eventually do it your way of like just aggressively seeking enemies out, just to keep the numbers on the map low. between that, and, the sentinel beams. Kind of suck.
Oh yeah.
I
didn't have.
though.
Yeah, they're just an added annoyance.
Well, and the thing is, like, they're around all of the places that you can kind of hide behind.
Mm-hmm.
So it just makes it so frustrating. And it just makes the story even more frustrating, because when you finally beat this, you're like, awesome, something cool is going to happen. And it doesn't. Just adds to the disrespect.
Yeah, you just kind of go into the center of this area where, and was it just hanging there the entire time, like this Davis construct thing?
Yeah, it's just
in the middle.
In the middle, yeah.
And then like a little bridge opens up, so you can actually go in the inside of it. And then she grabs it and then hooks it up to a pelican, which is that. I guess that animation's kind of cool. You see the pelican come in and then flies off.
Yeah, it's still just like, why?
Mm-hmm. But this whole thing makes it sound like, I think, like Dratheus 5 is no longer habitable. It feels like no one's going there anymore because the moon started to destroy the planet, or it's fully destroyed. But I don't think Dratheus 5 is going to be on any more Halo stories anymore. It's just like a little side thing.
Yeah.
So what happens in the co-op? I'm super interested. I did watch your guys' playthrough on Twitch, and it looked hectic. It looked like it's just lots of floodies coming at you. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's basically just a flood game mode. Like there's 5 missions. Every single mission has the flood. Some of them are just survive. Some of them have like a little objective. We're not gonna really break it down mission by mission because there's not really a story there at all.
Is it a simulation the same way as the other game is framed up? Or
I'm guessing, but it literally tells you nothing. It's just like every mission has like a little blurb, but the blurb doesn't seem relevant to anything. It's just like, this is the place you're going and this is why it's good against the flood. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's go here, do a thing, and that's pretty much it.
And it's like, but why are we doing
Was there a
this?
different, like, was it a typo? Because I remember reading something about X40, and then we've been on X50, so maybe it's like a different moon that it happened on. It's weird.
Yeah, and it's a little frustrating because there literally is no explanation. I wish if this was just a simulation, just kind of for fun thing, it would have been said at some point. Like, hey, we're, here's some places that the flood can show up. We're going to simulate them for you so that you can get used to that and blah, 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 and you can just be around the flood, I guess.
Right.
But
so we'll talk about your experience together. It seemed like you guys had fun, like it was challenging, right?
It was pretty good fun. It's well made in terms of, like, I haven't played that many twin stick shooters, but in terms of co-op, like, they good co-op mechanics. So like they have like typical like flood spores, and then you have these kind of yellow golden infection forms, and they actually latch onto you and like kill you over time, and you can't hurt them, so your co-op partner has to shoot them off you. So like there's elements of like not being too far away from each other kind of stuff, of like you need someone to stand on the thing to open a door to bring a barrier down, and you go through and then you hold it open for them kind of thing.
That's
so
cool.
There's small mechanics like that. There's a way of like you standing under a sentinel beam and being able to use it to like burn up flood. You kind of just stay on the spot, but you then direct this turret, and your co-op partner can stand on another panel and like power it up so it does more damage and stuff.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting, but we noticed pretty quickly that we're using the sentinel beam. You don't get any points.
Yeah.
You kill the enemy, but you don't generate any score or any kills or any medals.
Does the partner get the points, or is it just, you just don't get
No.
any?
It just goes.
You just don't get any.
It was weird.
Huh.
Yeah. So we did that once just like to do it, and then we're like, okay, we never did it ever again.
'Cause we want the points because that's how you get the score at the end. You get your get rated. The game.
Was there any
judges you.
incentive? Was there any incentive to get a high score? Like, did you unlock achievements or anything?
Yeah, there's achievements for it. Obviously, there's like all gold achievement, and there's an achievement for one person getting the highest score in all of them versus your person.
Did you get that,
So, like,
David?
I did, but like, it wasn't through like really trying. Like our scores weren't massively different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just the whatever way it fell, and it's got some good like in terms of like co-op mechanics. That's kind of interesting. It has like different weapons and different kind of abilities
Mm-hmm.
that actually factor in interestingly into the co-op. Like we found a pretty good system of like overlapping our abilities
Oh, okay, that's cool.
to kind of like maximize the time. And then one mission was pretty cool. It was like defend these particular points that the flood are coming at. We didn't realize there was more than one, so when one damaged, you had to fall back to the next one. And we pretty much got all the way back to the last one where there was only one doorway, and we pretty efficiently staggered our repel abilities so that like there was always a repel holding the flood back as we were shooting them.
Is it like a barrier, or what is the repel?
Repel is like
It's like an AoE.
it's like a little, yeah, it's like a little bomb that kind of shoots out this gas, and it looks like ice. Do you know what I mean? It kind of reminded me of like a cryo bomb kind of thing. But, like it shoots out this kind of white steam in an area, and like the flood just can't pass through it.
Oh.
They can go around it though, but it doesn't. And like if you're, it's handy enough if like you're being, if the golden flood is on you and infecting you, you can drop the repel to kind of get him off you and kill him and stuff. But it was pretty cool. So we just kind of staggered that and like constantly kept up a stream of ammo or a ream of weapons fire.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Nice. It looked fun. Yes, it looked like you guys were having fun. It looked intense. Looked stressful. I know you guys restarted
really
a couple
was.
times.
Yeah,
there's
like-
just a lot of flood. It throws so many bodies at you.
It ramps up real fast, and the different types are there. There isn't any carrier forms, but some of the larger enemy types do drop infection forms when they die.
Yeah, it looked like there was like a hybrid carrier form.
Yeah.
Where it was like a
It
combat
was a-
form / carrier.
Also, the flood
Essentially,
can
yeah.
throw grenades, and it's so
That was really annoying.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Those types that were like quote unquote carrier, where like they were throwing grenades, actually, which was really annoying.
What weapons did you guys use the most?
A lot of shotguns.
Yeah.
The BR is a unique weapon to this mode. It's not all that great, to be honest. It has a really low clip size, like 24 shots, I think,
Oh.
and the standard. So that's not great.
And it does
it's
3
handy-
a time? Like it does the burst?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Yes, you
steady
blow
burst.
through it.
You blow through it real fast. The shotgun's great, as you can imagine. I used an AR a lot.
So did I.
Because having such a large clip size meant you can keep a constant stream of fire.
Mm-hmm.
I messed around with dual SMGs, and the dual pistols are in this.
Yeah, the machine pistols, which is just random. Like, what are those?
Yeah,
things?
it's really weird. They're a weird design. They're essentially a shitter version of the dual SMGs.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? They're not as accurate. They don't have as much force either, but they perform the same function. I used them a good bit just when you needed something else to use, something rapid fire. And I don't think there's too many else. I don't even think there's Covenant weapons in that mode. I think it's just human weapons.
No, I don't think there are Covenant weapons. It is just human weapons. I didn't even notice that when
Yeah.
we were playing through.
True. So I don't think there isn't that many weapons in co-op, but there's a pistol as well and stuff like that. But it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of
Is it
anything else,
so? It's worth playing this mode.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was pretty fun. Definitely, yeah. It's pretty quick too, but it is intense. Do you know what I mean? It does ramp up a lot in difficulty. So there is a bit of effort, especially like there's one we had the most difficult bit. I think it was like destroy these points, and you're moving around this map, opening doors and stuff like that, and barriers, and you need grenades. And we were just like doing laps of this map, just trying to like keep the flood at bay, because they're just constantly spawning. There's no winning, you know. It's just surviving till you complete your objective.
Cool. It looked like it could be. I mean, you know, couch co-op is still a thing, but less of a thing. You're essentially playing couch co-op when you play online, but it would be a fun couch co-op experience, I think.
I definitely think. I don't like. I'm sad that couch co-op is slowly dying because it is a lot of fun. So this would. I'm not sure if you can split screen it. I'd have to look into that, but
It'd probably be. It looked like. Well, I guess yeah, because David, when I was watching, like David was kind of off to the side a little bit.
yeah, because you can go off screen from each other.
Okay, so maybe it wouldn't work. I don't know. Well, cool. Well, thanks for playing that. I do want to jump into that at some point. Just maybe grab some Chivos and just feel the intensity of that thing, because it did look pretty wild. All right, so that's our I guess our coverage of Spartan Assault. I did want to get into a couple things. Was there any other trivia that you wanted to bring up, David? I just had a couple things I wanted to check on?
Yeah, nothing new, just
Okay.
the things that you found, really.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna bury this in our mission debrief. I'm gonna bury a little history of skulls because it's been bothering me that I haven't brought it up, and I don't know when else I'm going to bring it up because we're gonna play Spartan Strike and then Halo Wars 2. And there's not really a good place to put this. I should have talked about this back in CE days, but that was a long time ago. So I've always been just kind of curious, like, why skulls? Because we use them in pretty much every Halo, right? They are in every Halo. They're in, Halo Wars, and they're in these games. They're all over. But it's like, why the actual skull? What does the skull have anything to do with Halo?
It's where your brain goes.
It's never really made any sense to me. So I did a little digging, and our friend of the show, Chris Aiken, helped me out a little bit as well. Kind of picked his brain, and he knows all the resources that are out there, but it's not super clear the actual origin of it from Halopedia, and maybe it is, and I'm just not finding the right spot to look. But the skull itself came from marathon days, like so many things from Bungie, so many ideas that they carried over into their new franchise, their new game. There was a game mode in Marathon called Kill the Man with the Ball, and the ball was a skull. And if you're familiar with, well, there's a worse term for that in the Midwest. Just when, we used to play this when we were kids, right? Like one kid had the ball and you all tackle him, right? So it's more or less that, only in video game form. And so that mode was already in Marathon. They brought it over into CE as Oddball, and most of you have played Oddball in some form or another in Halo, where it's really, the person with the skull, the physical skull, needs to run around, try to survive for a number of minutes, while everybody else tries to, kill them and then pick up the skull, and then their, time counter runs up. So that's the game mode, and they brought that over into CE because they must have, liked the game mode. And then CE had the skull asset from the Captain Keyes mission, right, where you go in and shove your your hand into the key mine. And there's a little history around that, how they created that, the skull asset, and it was supposed to be super nasty because it was, flood and it was supposed to be charred and all this sort of stuff. So there's some interesting history behind that, like the actual how it looked in CE and how they backed off how nasty it looked. But then that skull asset was, because it was made to be, because of the game mode, you could actually pick it up, right? And the skulls, like the game modifier wasn't in CE, but then they brought the game modifier into Halo 2, and they wanted something as a collectible that you would pick up, so that you could already pick up a skull in Halo CE, and so they brought that forward where you're holding onto it, and then when you pick up a skull in Halo 2, that's when the game modification actually happens. That doesn't happen in CE because they're not in there, but in Halo 2, so when you pick up like the blind skull, all of a sudden then you lose all your HUD elements, and you can't, and that's active until, in the original Xbox version, that was active until you actually turned the console off. And so you could go around and collect all of the skulls and modify the game, within the campaign, but you couldn't necessarily turn it off unless you actually restarted the console, which is wild. And I didn't play Halo 2 back in its heyday, so I wasn't aware of that. Did either of you guys play in the heyday of Halo 2?
Nope.
David?
I was just
Did
about
you play Halo 2?
Did.
Do you remember it all? Because my notes are saying that like you'd pick it up and there'd be like a sound, like a flash and a sound that would more or less say that is now that's active, and then something changed, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the first time I picked one up. I remember not even knowing that they existed or even what they were. Mm-hmm. And I was in, I think it was this first one was Outskirts. And when you crash land as Chief on the Pelican, Pelican crashing, whatever.
Yeah.
Pretty much at the start in that first area where you're fighting Jackals and Elites, and then like a Phantom comes in and shoots you around the courtyard area. Mm-hmm. There's a way of like jumping up on the buildings and like going around the roof, and I found the skull. I just don't know what I was doing. I was just wandering around, and I found this skull. And you just walk over to it and you pick it up, and like all of my HUD disappeared. What the fuck? I didn't know what I had done. I thought I had broken something.
Yeah.
And I immediately reloaded and like never thought about them like for a very long time, and then like they were obviously an established thing by the time Halo 3 came out, of like being actual like game modifiers.
Yeah.
There probably is way more in Halo 2 than I realized, but that's what I remember is going like, oh, this sucks. No way, I don't want this.
Yeah, so they became, they were the modifier, and then they became like the permanent modifier as Halo continued to have its releases. So just a little history in there. I've always been curious about that, and as so many things, the origin usually comes from Marathon, an older Bungie. So there must have been some people that just loved that, loved the Skull asset or the concept of that, and they've continued to carry it through. So there's my little history lesson, which I hope you enjoy and pass on to the other Halo fans.
Yay!
Yay! Okay, let's get into the recap of Spartan Assault. I'll do my story recaps as we've always do, and then we'll just talk about our experience. I have a couple thoughts, kind of some thought starters, and then I do want to compare a little bit to the other games that we've played, these secondary Halo experiences. So in Halo Wars, the Spirit of Fire chases a Covenant fleet that's searching for ancient technology across the galaxy. The Prophet of Regret plans to use a Forerunner fleet stationed inside a flood-infested shield world, but needs a human to activate the ships. The Arbiter, Ripper Moramy, captures Professor Ellen Anders and forces her to wake the Dreadnoughts. To save humanity from certain doom, Captain James Cutter gives the order to use the Spirit of Fire's FTL drive to destroy the shield world while the ships are still inside. Sergeant Forge sacrifices himself by manually activating the FTL, causing the planet's sun to go supernova, while his comrades make a furious escape. The remaining crew, including ship AI Serena and Spartan Red Team, are left floating in space with little hope of rescue. We'll save you soon.
Hey, spoilers!
That took place from February 4th, 2531 to February 25th, 2531. In Fireteam Raven, we dropped out of slipspace and explored the mysterious ring, the mysterious Halo ring that Cortana randomly brought us to. With the help of AI Wellesley, Fireteam Raven battled the Covenant, discovered the Flood, and helped Master Chief use the Pillar of Autumn's fusion reactor to destroy the ring world superweapon in order to save all life on Galaxy. They sacrificed themselves as well. This was from September 19th, 2552 to September 22nd, 2552. Now, in a Spartan Assault, a Covenant splinter sect violated the Treaty of 2552 and attacked the UNSC forces stationed on Dratheus 5. The planet's moon was discovered to be a Forerunner creation that could both build and destroy planets. Spartan Davis and Palmer led the effort to stop the Covenant leader Merg Vol from harnessing the devastating technology, repel the invasion, and evacuate the system. Davis doesn't survive the operation, but Palmer perseveres and honors her fallen comrade. So lots of death happens, lots of sacrifices in these games. Usually one major character doesn't come out, and that continues with Spartan Assault. So let's talk about our overall experience with the twin stick shooter now, as we've this is the third additional Halo experience, non-FPS
Spin-off,
Halo experience that we've had.
maybe?
Yeah, spin-off, I guess. One thing I'm curious about is, and I don't know if this is a good place to start, but I'm going to start here anyway, is so in Halo Wars, you're controlling the battlefield, right? And then you're also in there controlling the individual units themselves. So here you still got to see the battlefield, but you're just controlling one unit. Any thoughts on doing one versus the other, Krista? Do you prefer to do the strategic, the full battlefield, or would you rather just maybe control one unit?
Oh, come now. More is always better. I want it all.
Okay. Well, you are also our RTS queen, so.
Yes. Where's my crown?
So it was more interesting playing Halo Wars, or more, I don't know, engaging. You just like that experience better, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically. I have no problem with a twin sticks shooter. I think it's cute. I think it's fun. I think it worked well as a mobile game. But when it comes to depth of gameplay, I think RTS and Halo Wars kind of model is way better.
Yeah. David, how about you? Any thoughts on kind of that comparison between Halo Wars and Spartan Assault?
They're obviously linked because they have like similar kind of elements. You got the grizzly in there and stuff like that, and similar kind of things happening in the game. One of the missions, I think, is kind of like defend people while they board a plane kind of thing. But I like it. I mean, I liked it way more than I thought as well. The difference in gameplay, like these are like the two major kind of offshoots from Halo in terms of like gameplay styles. And obviously the RTS is way more successful than the twin stick shooter, and which is it's fine. Twin stick shooter is an odd choice for Halo, I thought anyway.
Why is that?
But I guess the twin stick shooter genre is not like a massive one. You know what I mean? It is pretty niche, and it's obviously, I don't know. This just wouldn't be my first thought, or second, third, fourth, or fifth thought for like a Halo spin-off game if it was going to be in a different genre. But obviously it's small scale. It's easily, say, quote unquote, easily made, kind of game. The Halo skin fits quite nicely to it, and I think it came off really well, to the point where like we were obviously shitting on it back in the day, and no one cares about Spartan Strike. I'm actually genuinely looking forward to playing a bit of Spartan Strike.
Yeah.
Because I did enjoy the gameplay I got from Spartan Assault. So, and it's small, short, and sweet. You know what I mean? I think that's good. Any longer, and it might, outstay its welcome, get a bit grindy and repetitive.
Yeah.
So let's see how we go.
Yeah, I like, and I'm more of like a turn-based strategy guy, just because I like to think about stuff. So I kind of like doing either the strategy or the tactics, whereas Halo Wars, I can do it, I can wrap my brain around it, but it isn't my brain doesn't work as well when I'm doing kind of both things at one time. So I would rather just do like the strategic layer or the individual tactic layer. In terms of preference, I don't know. I guess to Chris's point, like there's just more options in Halo Wars. There's more to do. It's more of a thinker versus this this little kind of tactical game where you're running around shooting guys. It's just there's not as, I guess, and I want to talk about this in a little bit. Well, we could talk about this now. What would make this game more interesting? And again, it's a fine experience. It's a good experience. But what could they have added to the game that would have made it even better? Krista, have you had any thoughts while you've been playing this over the last couple weeks?
Yeah. I think what's really lacking in this is the story is very good in this, and I think they didn't do a good job at conveying the story. I think this interaction, I think this whole game would be a lot more elevated if they added more cutscenes, there was more in-game dialogue, more interactivity, instead of, like, because every little, like, mission feels so very different from the other. It feels very disconnected. It doesn't feel like a seamless kind of journey that you're going on like other Halo games.
So just story, like nothing gameplay-wise? You think just some story enhancements?
So, gameplay-wise, like, the game was meant to be run on, like, an iPad or something like that. I think it works well for that. I don't think it needs to really be changed. I think I never had any problem with while playing the game. I never had any problem with, like, it's not fun to play. The game is fun to play. You just don't know why you're there.
Sure. Without digging in.
Reading.
Deep.
You have to read a bunch.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's not that hard, but you have to at least dig in a little bit to figure it out. David, any enhancements that you think that should have been or could have been added?
Better vehicle controls would be nice. I mean, it probably could have had some aerial vehicles in there that would have been pretty cool. You could definitely throw in the stealth and assassination kind of mechanic. That would have been cool. Would have liked that. Bit more weapon. I don't know. Like, I mean, definitely more mission variants. I did like how the story was told. And well, the motion graphic cutscenes, I thought they were kind of cool. But you could probably delve into them way more and do a proper game story through those and be pretty cool. For sure.
And Halo usually does some sort of some dialogue while you're playing, whereas these don't really. They do a little bit, but not a whole lot. So maybe adding something like that could help.
Yeah.
Just to kind of frame it up a little bit better versus really the way that it tells the story in the individual missions. it has the blurb at the beginning, and if you read that, it does make sense. It directly ties into the mission. But then from there, once you're running around and shooting, it's just the objective that's really telling you the story. It's okay, now go do this, destroy the mega turrets. So okay, that's the story in this mission.
Honestly, I think Palmer needs her Cortana. Palmer needs like someone to talk to and someone to kind of riff with while she's doing a mission.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what Davis was supposed to become, since he's some kind of Forerunner AI thing now. Maybe that could be Palmer's buddy.
Interesting.
Maybe that obviously never came to fruition, but there could be something cool there with like a human mind being trapped in a Forerunner thing and becoming some kind of...
We already have that in Halo, though.
AI.
Right.
Yeah, you're right, actually, yeah.
We have exactly that in Halo.
I mean, this is a potential. This is another thread, right? Another potential infinite tie-in. I don't think they will, but it's out there, right?
343 likes to like not finish things as well as they could. They don't like to tie knots. They like to leave strings hanging so that they can pick them up if they want to, which is smart on their part.
Yeah. So just another thread. One thing that I thought would be so a couple things enhancement-wise, and again, I haven't played Spartan Strike. Well, I played a little bit just to see what it was, but it doesn't affect my decision. Some sort of progression, I think, would be good. The monetization was taken out of the game,
which is good.
For whatever reason. Maybe it was there for a couple years, and they decided, it's not worth it. We're just gonna, tie this off and say, okay, monetization's gone, but the game still exists. I don't know what went into that decision. But yeah, the monetization needs to go away. But some sort of progression where you're either working towards new guns that you can use, and they do have that where you can use your credit, but maybe there's a way where, if you get a certain score or an overall total score, or you collect a couple things in the mission. That was one thing that was missing. No collectibles. I think that would have been interesting.
Oh,
maybe the collectible would have been like the black boxes where the collectible actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they could. I feel like that would have been easy enough to add, but something where you feel like you're maybe powering Palmer up, because this is early on in her career, and she feels powerful as a part of the story. But maybe there's a way that you could slowly find, like by the middle operation, you finally unlock that armor ability where you're the stealth armor ability or whatever that is, right? Or maybe some way her guns become more effective or something, right? So I feel like something like that could have been interesting as well. Another idea that I had, I really like this idea. So listen up. So give me a strategic layer on top, and a lot of games do this, just not Halo games, but so give me a couple decisions to make. Maybe place a couple things on the high level strategic layer, like some ammo crates or some maybe you throw a grizzly or a scorpion here on the map. So let me plan it out, and then let me dive in and run around as Palmer or Davis. So you're doing some strategic stuff that ties in a little bit with Halo Wars, but then dive in and then actually just be the person that's running around and say, oh yeah, I remember if I get up here, that's where I placed my my battle rifle up here, so go grab that. Now I'm going to use that because I need to get to this part of the map. So something like that could have been interesting, or even what do they call them? The kind of the randomly generated maps.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah, something like where it's not the same every time.
Yeah.
It might have been cool if they added more of a loot element in it as well. That might have been fun.
Loot would be cool. Yeah, there you go, loot. Mm-hmm. Where you unlock the boxes, and that makes either like an attachment or maybe some of your armor more effective.
Or like even something like enemies can like drop certain things to upgrade your weapons or something like that. So you want to keep playing missions over and over again to unlock different things.
Yeah, or customizing. I know because it's a canon Spartan, it doesn't necessarily make sense to like customize her armor. But that would have been cool, right? So some of the loot would have been to customize how she looked. So it's a couple ideas that they could have implemented. And we'll see. I think some of the things we talked about do carry through into Spartan Strike, or that package is a little bit tighter. But we'll talk about that very soon. Anything else that you guys? So again, it's a weird to compare all these games, these 3 games that we played. But is there even a comparison point between Fireteam Raven and Spartan Assault? Can those 2 experiences be compared? Krista, any thoughts on that? I mean, it doesn't really work, right?
Fireteam Raven is such a unique and very interactive experience, and this one's a lot more passive, in my opinion. It's a game. It's a game on your phone, so you kind of pick it up for a couple minutes and just kind of mess around and then put it down. Where Fireteam Raven is like, you're in it. You're like with a bunch of people. You have a gun in front of you. You're in this big kind of machine. So
Yeah.
I think it's a very stark difference between something super interactive and something a little more passive.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on? Well, I guess David, you haven't played Fireteam Raven yet, so
Boo.
not much of a comparison possibility there. But
Just rub it in.
I wasn't trying to. I just remembered.
It's not like a crap game anyway.
So I guess there's not a whole lot else to talk about. I don't really want to go through our categories that we normally do, because a lot of that stuff we've kind of fleshed out in this conversation or just during the campaign. Maybe a couple things just to talk about, like was there a favorite weapon that you guys always gravitated to? Like if you had your choice in Spartan Assault, Krista, what weapon would you pick up, or what weapon would you use throughout the entire thing?
I use the plasma rifle quite a bit, just because the constant firing and then the amount of ammo on the field, so it was really easy to keep going with it.
Yeah, David, how about you?
I kind of bounced around a lot. You have to chop and change your weapons a lot in this game. But I do like the human weapons. I think they're quite good. Pistol not so much, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do really like the shotgun. I find myself getting a lot up close, way more than I really thought.
Yeah.
Maybe just because that's just twin stick shooting in terms of like you're not terribly accurate at long ranges.
Plus the spread on the shotgun, right? Because you could kill multiple enemies with one shot. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. I did the AR a lot, and then when I wasn't doing that, it was like I said, a lot of plasma rifle.
Yeah.
I did really like the focus rifle for some reason. The steady
It was
beam.
good.
It was,
The only game
way better
focus rifle is good.
Yeah, that was one I really liked. And that's pretty much it. Grenades were really fun. I used to craft some grenades, I guess. Like once you get used to like the weird way of like aiming and throwing them, you can get it down.
And how does it?
Everything.
Sorry, how does it work? Because it's like when you're looking directly at something, it'll throw it at that, no matter how like the distance it is. Does that sound right to you guys?
It has a weird kind of lock on, where I was like sticky grenading enemies like ridiculous things and like throwing them over things and not really realizing it. I think it has like an aiming reticle, and if there's an enemy in there, you'll probably get them. Do you know what I mean? It'll stick them or whatever. Especially I like the fact that like the regular grenades would detonate on impact. That was pretty good. The flame grenades are pretty fun as well. They pop up in the co-op mode as well, and I think during the normal campaign as well.
I think
flame grenades there.
Grenades were my favorite.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Like if you give me any weapon, give me the grenades. I would have loved to have a mode or something where you just have unlimited grenades, some bandana skull with just grenades, and just that's how you beat every mission, just chucking. I think that would have been a lot of fun. I did use the plasma rifle a decent amount, and then the needler was fun too. I found some good success with the needler.
Good shout out to the needler.
It didn't have as much tracking as in the first-person shooter, though, the bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had some, but yeah, I agree. What about which was your favorite vehicle to drive around? So there was a ghost, a scorpion, a grizzly, and then a wraith. I think that was it.
Tank, regular.
The
tank.
wraith, the scorpion is, or I think maybe the grizzly, but I think the wraith had a primary weapon was terrible. Like it hit a really short range.
Yeah.
And it didn't really boost, and I was trying to boost. The ghost was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Hard to control as all hell. And I think that goes for the both forms of the tank. But
The grizzly.
I think I'd say the grizzly, just from the novelty of like single shotting everything, was pretty glorious.
I'd have to agree.
Chris is the same.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was cool. I did have fun with the ghost. I had the least amount of, I guess, problems driving the ghost. And if you do, and it did actually some pretty solid damage with what is even the weapon on the ghost called? I don't even know.
Plasma cannon.
Twin plasma
cannon,
shooters. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was good times. Let's see. Our other categories are enemies, and I don't think there's anything. I mean, it was interesting that we got to see some Girolani, some brutes here and there.
They were big too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the representation.
Big jump pack brutes.
Yeah, the jump pack, and then they had the big, the hammer brutes as well, which was fun to see. And there were drones. You know, there was a decent variety, and then obviously the flood and the co-op. So they did a pretty good job of throwing a lot at you. I think it did. We talked about it before, how it did drag on a little bit. There maybe wasn't quite enough variety towards the end, or at least maybe the mission variety got a little bit dull towards the middle of the end. But then it wrapped up okay. Any other like level design we usually talk about? Any standouts from that standpoint? The one that always sticks with me is the Hornet defense, and that's one of the early ones where you're running around that little landing pad, and then you have to realize, I have to jump in the Hornet to leave. But I feel like that one was pretty, like that map felt pretty good, and then a couple others felt the same. Any standouts for you, Krista, in terms of
boss fight is probably one of the more unique ones that I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
The very end, that was fun.
The very end,
it had a neat mechanic to it, and it was a nice map, big and open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just one little area, but yeah, the enemies came in from different sides, and it had that center console. I don't know, anything stand out for you, David, worth mentioning?
I think the first tank mission that has like a bunch of tanks you're rolling together against the enemies.
Yeah.
But it has a cool feeling of just like rolling up with a bunch of tanks blowing the shit out of dudes. I kind of enjoyed that, even despite the terrible stuff.
Right. And we mentioned it in the last episode, like the floor box I thought was fantastic, where you're seeing things happen beneath you instead of above you, because it's a top-down game perspective. So I thought they did a really good job of that as well. They could have done a couple other things with the actual level design, maybe giving you different ways to sneak around, different paths. Some of the missions did that, but it was fairly limited for the most part. I feel like we already talked about lore and characters and stuff, so I don't really want to cover up on that stuff. But I think overall a pretty good package, worth playing. Definitely play it, and I think that co-op would be a good sit down with your buddy if you have a half hour or something like that, and just kind of try to mess around a little bit. All right, I'm gonna make you guys rank these games. It's probably pretty obvious for everybody, but we have played these 3 games now, so I feel like we have enough to rank. What's the best of the or I guess just rank the games, Krista. Which is the best of these 3?
Wars, Raven, Assault.
Yeah. David? Well,
yeah. I'm gonna go Raven last just because I haven't played it. But yeah, Wars, Assault, Raven.
Yeah.
That's just because I'm.
Yeah, I'll go with Krista. I think Halo Wars. There's so much more to begin with, so it's hard to put this Spartan Assault above that. I mean, maybe if they made some enhancements that we talked about, maybe it could get up there. But and that's not to say that smaller games can't be better than bigger games. But I think there's a lot to like about Halo Wars, and then Raven is what it is. Would I rather experience Raven again than Spartan Assault? I guess that's the question. I don't know. I guess with friends, I'd probably have more fun with Raven. Not to say that the co-op mode I think would be fun and you guys experience it, but I think if I had 3 of my buddies playing Raven, that would be a really good time. So
and Raven's one of those experiences that changes depending on who you're playing with.
Yeah, good point. But yeah, I'll do that. I'll put Assault at the bottom. Not that it's bad. We all talked about how we enjoyed it, but I'll go Wars, Raven, and then Spartan Assault. Okay, now what? There's another twin stick shooter to play. No. It's called Spartan Strike. Yes, that's right. We will get to Halo Wars 2 eventually. It's not too far off. But we want to finish Spartan Strike as well. So play that. And that takes place, interestingly enough, if you haven't played it, the first couple missions, I think it might be just the whole first operation, is October of 2552. I remember that from something. Oh, yeah. It's Halo 2.
Halo 2.
Halo 2. So it takes place during the attack of New Mombasa. At the very beginning, that sets up a thing that we'll find out about, and then it jumps forward into July 2557, taking place after another thing. So there's some good lore tie-ins with the game, and then we get some, the gameplay. Again, I played it recently just to refresh my memory a little bit. It feels similar. There's some changes. But then, if you enjoyed Spartan Assault, I think you'll enjoy Spartan Strike as well, especially with the lore stuff that they bring in. So that it's no longer just like this planet that we're never gonna experience again. It actually ties into the larger story of it. So play Spartan Strike, and then like I said, there's Halo 2 and Halo 4 tie-ins as well. And then I'm not going to go through all the what to read and all the other stuff we already talked about with the other games, but anything that you want to experience between 2552 and 2557, there's not necessarily direct tie-ins with all that lore stuff. So really the major things are New Mombasa and then New Phoenix stuff. So check that out. All right, let's see, no more trivia to talk about today, so let's do a community question. And then we'll get out of here. We'll send you on your way.
All right, let's get out of here. Colin Perkins, the admin, May 18th at 6:50 p.m. What would be the best Halo gaming experience that you take on the go? Question, information, debrief, Spartan Assault, recap. The crazy picture of some old school phone. That's not real. That's not a real picture, Colin. Look at that.
It's an old phone.
Yeah. Matthew Blankenstrip says, give me an augmented reality first-person shooter. Imagine pointing your phone at the sky and seeing a capital ship pull up with swarms of phantom spirits drop down while you aim a mass driver and drop them into the horizon. It's kind of cool.
I love that.
Pokemon Go Halo.
The ones that slip through to deploy Covenant troops, break out the old trusty MA5B and mow them down and never get bored, or that or an Ungoi farmer. Richard says, I wanted to play Spartan Assault the other day and thought it would be in the App Store, but no. FPS wouldn't work as they never run as a Bluetooth controller. Maybe a point A to point B racer shooter in the Warthog or Ghost.
Okay.
Chris says, I have an old Windows phone specifically to now play delisted Spartan Assault and iPhone 6 to play Spartan Strike. It's a crime that those are the only ways to play the only portable Halo experiences ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Chris then follows up, like Chris himself, just put Halo Anniversary on Switch, same as Halo 2 on PC, or just make a Master Chief promotion purchase Halo 1 all over again, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get it. Halo Anniversary on Switch is kind of what he's talking about.
Yep.
Alan says, all I want is Halo Combat Evolved on my Switch. I don't even need multiplayer. If Banjo can make it to Smash, anything is possible.
That would be pretty rad, though, play a handheld CE.
I'd say it's definitely doable.
I think so.
The Switch is a good platform for it as well. I mean,
FPS, yeah.
The control is pretty much the same as an Xbox controller, so.
The controller, or the?
Oh, even just the way the
all
sticks
the
are
buttons,
positioned and everything. Yeah, it's just an Xbox.
Oh, that's true.
controller.
Actually, yeah, they're offset. That's true. Tim says a Halo Tactics games featuring Grey Team or even Gamma 3s.
Oh.
Daniel says, I'm still waiting for Spartan Strike on Xbox. Not gonna happen, buddy. Manny says Angry Grunts toss military units onto grunts and they're stationed on precarious buildings. Some blow up like pinatas. Sequel, Angry Grunts of Balaho. That's their home planet. That's pretty cool.
I like it.
Yeah. And finally, Storm says Halo Crush, just like Candy Crush, but Halo style. Or even better, Halo Chess, like the generic Star Wars. Oh yeah, the crazy 3D chess.
On the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Point, guys. The preview lets you stream the Master Chief Collection and Halo 5 on your phones with a Bluetooth controller and your Android devices.
Oh.
And I did it, and it's awesome. So that's the correct answer.
That's cool. Okay. And it played well?
You can. Yeah, it played really well. I played CE on it and thought it was perfect.
Nice. Awesome. All right. What did Discord have to say?
All right, everyone's changing their names, and I hate you all. Razgris7 says the original trilogy. Spartan B3 B312 says Master Chief Collection on gaming PC in the car with unlimited snacks and drinks. He just wants to go on a road trip.
Nice.
Pope said, I would love to have Master Chief Collection for the Switch, but I know that will never happen. Probably not, but we can dream. King Big Beard says Master Chief Collection on the Switch. Of course. Zudo says ODST Firefight plus all the above. So he just wants to add ODST Firefight to Master Chief Collection. And now everybody's talking about how they want ODST Firefight on Master Chief Collection. I actually didn't know that, and the other day I was like, hey guys, what do you want to play? And they're like, let's do ODST Firefight. I'm like, okay, let's go on Master Chief Collection. I'm like, it's not here. Oops. Wolf says 8-bit Halo Flash game. So you can play it at school, of course.
Yeah.
Wolf says... he also says Stellaris Halo mod, maybe?
Yeah, that's like a... Yeah, that's a strategic game.
Thombomb 6 says Warzone Firefight for tablet. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Hector Elite says they should make Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2 because they are awesome games. FPS games are shit on mobile usually, and they are a pain in the ass.
Okay. I feel like RTS would be rough.
Yeah. There's just so many things you have to do. Spartan Tundra says Xbox handheld, like the Switch. Yeah. That's about it. Like David said.
Cool.
Most of this is coming to your phone, which is really, really cool. I'm excited to try it. It's gonna be so cool. Just Halo
So that's
anyway.
xCloud? Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the xCloud like streaming service that you basically make your own Xbox a server and then it connects to your phone.
That's pretty rad. That'll be fun to play with.
Technology is magical, man.
It is. That's right. It's keeping us sane during these crazy times.
It's true.
All right, that will do it for our debriefing of Operation Hydra, the very floody co-op missions, and the recap of Halo Spartan Assault. On the next episode, we'll be covering Operations A through D from Halo Spartan Strike. Heads up, Operation E is gated behind gold stars for every other mission.
Why?
So, yeah.
Why?
So we'll get to that. Might just take us a little while. Send us your thoughts at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at Podcast Evolved on Twitter. You can also support the show by visiting Podcast Evolved on Patreon. And don't forget the free audiobook trial. Visit audibletrial.com/podcastevolved. Until next time, evolve.
Evolve.
Evolve!